on, and I won't bore you with that. Here, you need to do it again. Woo! That wasn't very guttural, sir. Can you give me like a redneck, kind of one of those? Woo! Oh, for God's sake. All right, Amazon has given you some dominoes and a pen, so thanks to Amazon for that. There you go. All right. Wow.
Service with a smile.
Holy. Yeah, that's, yeah, exactly. He was just waiting for that moment. Ooh, someone needs me. My kids do the same thing. Oh, sorry. Let's see. You'll take what? T-shirt. So this is a Shmoocon T-shirt. What size is this?
It's goldenrod.
It's goldenrod. This is the goldenrod size. You can have that. You can't catch it, though. What's on your sign, sir? I'm blind. Free stuff. Free stuff. Come up for your free stuff. So this is a Security University T-shirt, and you can, what? Throw him a brick, yes. You can still probably buy some Security University T-shirts at the booth for a $5 donation to Wounded Warriors, right? That was, yes. So that seems right. There you go. Let's see. Did anyone get owned at the con? Who said yes? What happened? Your prompt was changed. I think that's your friends fucking with your unlocked thing. Here, come on up. You need a Hacking the Art of Exploitation book, so you can understand what a real hack looks like from No Starch Press, so thanks to No Starch. Please don't flash me. Kilt. Sunday's Kilt Day, wasn't it? Saturday was Kilt Day. I guess he's still working from last night, so. Come on up. All right, that was, you put your hand up, sir. So this is a really nice, actually, little folio thing from Palo Alto Network. So thank you to Palo Alto. So thanks to all the sponsors that have given us lots of swag to give away. Hopefully you don't go away empty-handed. We have a lot of Shmoocon T-shirts that we'll be giving out over the next hour-ish or so. Oh, I still haven't actually gotten on. Let's see if this works. Hey, that's a better sign. Woo! Turn off mirroring.
I must have put us against someone really good if this is all we have in the crowd.
Okay, so that one fits and that one doesn't. All right. I guess, is it noon? It's noon. So we're going to kick this sucker off. So here's the deal. This is... there's crap everywhere up here. This is Own the Con. This is a talk that we give every year that's basically internals of the conference, how we run it, how the group puts the whole thing together and all the volunteers work and that kind of thing. And in general, oh, everyone's tweeting that they're in the Own the Con session. No, it's like, screw Twitter. Yeah. So there's a couple purposes to this talk, and to be honest, there's an awful lot of material to cover. So one of the purposes of this talk is actually to get into kind of the public record, if you will, the internet, the tubes, all the information that we can on the video and through the presentation, so that other people running conferences, which seems to happen a lot these days, can kind of look at what we've done, the mistakes that we made, how we run it, the scale of things, and depending on the event that they're trying to run, look at it and help make some decisions. So there's a lot of info here, and some of it we're just going to plow through. So that it's there and captured. If you have comments and there's time, feel free to yell them and write them, and we'll deal with it. But I reserve the right to cut things short just so we can make sure everything gets captured, says the guy who's rambling on and on and on. Also, and I used to just do this because I was lazy, like put the little how to reuse it year after year after year. But it's actually pretty impressive. We've been going at this now for 7 years, and every year we've had the con, we've stood up on stage and said, here's the good stuff, here's the bad stuff, tell us what you like, tell us what you didn't like, and we're here to do it again. So, starting, what? Boom. Starting from the top. Some of this stuff, if you've been to Own the Cons before, you will recognize some of these slides, because I didn't change them. We are still an LLC, usually spelled correctly, except on our Amex cards. I even have an Amex card that doesn't have my last name on it. It says Bruce, it works. I haven't had a web form barf on it yet either, which is really weird. LLCs have very little overhead. You basically just tell the state you're an LLC, you file some paperwork, you update some things on a yearly basis, and you're done. You don't have all the overhead of 501c3. So everyone always asks, why aren't you officially a nonprofit? Well, because we have a lot of other things to do. And steering a nonprofit, I mean, people have seen it done in a streamlined fashion and whatever, but it's a pain in the butt compared to what we want. We'd rather focus on the con and deal with paying taxes and everything. We'd rather pay the tax than, you know, not. So anyway, is that me or you?
What?
The beeping. Well, I know it's. Thank you. It is 2011. I have had my balls cooked by that thing for years. So it's the same organizational structure.
We did just have a baby.
We did just have a baby, so I guess they work. Everything is planned in email for the most part. There are some calls. We do not have like weekly con calls or IRC chats or anything like that. We had to use IRC for Hack Fortress, and I didn't even have an IRC client installed, which was like embarrassing. But honestly, we as a group, the Shmoo group's been together for a long time, and we kind of already knew each other's habits and things like that, so it was easy to do things in email, and by extension, the other volunteers that have gotten involved are kind of fall into that same thing, and we've got, you know, lists for labs and Hack Fortress and whatever, and for the most part, that tends to work pretty effectively for day-to-day planning. So, conference dates and venues. So obviously, this is not the Marriott. I know of at least one person that went to the Marriott. Oh, and yeah, one person came here, thought it was the Marriott, and was shocked at the renovation that they had done. Including spelling it differently, I might add. So why did we do it? We wanted to try something new. You know, we kind of run our course of the Marriott, and they were good to us. I mean, there was no issues or anything. One thing about the Hilton is it is a smaller hotel. How many rooms?
1,020 or something.
Like 1,000-ish rooms. And so the Marriott was like 1,600 rooms or something like that. So you know, when you engage a hotel in an event like this, the real thing that they care about is the room commitment. How many people are going to stay in the hotel every night? And we have to sign a piece of paper that says we're going to make a room commitment. And if we don't make it, we're on the hook for the difference between what we said we would get and what you all reserved. And that comes in a cash payment to the hotel, and we just give them money. So we tend to be kind of conservative with that number. But in reality, this year, what was our biggest pickup night?
Well, we had a room commitment of, I don't have a voice, so.
Get even closer then. There you go.
All right. They still can't hear me, so it doesn't matter. We had a room commitment of 650 room nights, and we actually cleared about 1,200.
So we had a room commitment of 600 and change. We had an actual uptick of like 1,200, and I think our biggest night we were almost half the hotel. So versus
that would be Saturday night for anybody who had any confusion.
Yeah, Saturday night. So when you're half the hotel, you get a little more attention from the hotel than when you're less than a third, like we were at the Marriott. So that's, you know, another reason to come here is, hey, you know, when we're taking over more of the hotel, what's different? You know, how do they treat us? You know, is it a little bit easier to engage in the hotel staff? And the Hilton handles conferences different than, you know, the other folks. It's probably, I don't know. Anyway, sorry about the GSM feedback. So it was interesting, but I mean, overall, people liked the Hilton, people didn't like the Hilton. Anything bad about it? It's okay. Thumbs up. All right. It's back to, yeah, it is. It's weird. You know, they built this brand new space, but then they put all these columns in it.
Either that or the building closed down.
What?
I don't know.
Here, we'll just set ours back here on the floor.
Okay.
Oh. There we go. We'll see if that fixes it.
No light up shirts to get mad at each other this time, so our phones are dueling.
Right. Yeah, the columns are a little annoying. We try to compensate with screens and set the room in a way that at least you had a shot at seeing the speaker. But I think the open area out there worked out very well for a common area, better than the Thurgood Marshall Ballroom did. But we still have the issue of that third room being kind of far away. And we had that at the Marriott, and it's very difficult to find a place that has kind of the room structure that we would ideally want. And to stay this size. So anyway, overall, I think it was pretty good. Speaker selection. So I'm going to go through some stats. John's going to say a few words about speaker selection and how to get through the process. But overall, we had about 155 submissions received, which is about 20-25% up from last year. 100 of those talks came during the early round, so we had the early cutoff and the final cutoff. Again, we used OpenConf, which is an open source. What? Well, Heidi says she doesn't like it, but honestly, it's one of the best pieces of open source conference management software out there. It's designed for academic conferences, so there's a lot of blinding of who submits, which gets a little annoying at times.
Yeah, which is exactly the opposite of what we really want. We want the people who are reviewing the talks to be in active competition with each other, and if they see something that that is either not getting the attention or too much attention, that they focus on that. And I've been doing a lot of that manually by sending out to people, here are the talks that only have one review, here are the things that only have 2 reviews on them, because we really want to have everything get at least 3 eyes on it. And that has a lot of work to do, particularly this year. Normally we have about 30 talks come in for the early acceptance. And this year it was 100 of 155 in for early acceptance. So if you noticed that early acceptance went out a little late, that was the reason why. Well, most conferences have between 2/3 and 90% of their submissions come in the last 24 hours, which makes life really bad for the reviewers, because all of a sudden you just get things dumped on you. And we've had early acceptance as a way to encourage people to submit early, because if you've got a good talk that you submit early, the chances are a little better that it's going to be accepted than it would be in competition with everybody else. And before it was even better, but people have figured out how to game the system in the way we wanted it to be gamed. So we'll see what happens again next year.
So some quick stats as far as accepted talks. We went through again this year and broke down the what types of talks. We had hardware-based, miscellaneous, offensive, and defensive. So this is from the accepted list. Pretty even mix of offensive, defensive, some, whatever. And you'd expect this given the track breakdown, right? Build it, break it, offensive and defensive, and then this kind of third bucket plus Friday. But you'll note that there's far fewer miscellaneous talks from years past, meaning things are a little bit easier to bucketize. There were some talks in the past, the really good taste hacking thing from last year that Mouse did. It was really cool, but clearly not at all security oriented. People were eating these pills and then eating lemons, and it was fun. But
we want to have 1 or 2 weird ass talks every con, and and so that's also one of the ways that if you can manage to come up with the right off the wall talk, you have a good chance of getting in.
And the offensive, for those that can't see this eye chart, the top bar is the talks for this year. The blue is hardware, red is miscellaneous, yellow is offensive, green is defensive. If you look, we had relatively few hardware and electronic-based talks, but if you look at, what got in, we definitely kind of biased toward those. There's some interesting hardware hacking stuff that's going on, and so that seems to be, an area of interest where, if you submit and it's a decent material, you had a good chance of getting in. There's a lot of miscellaneous type stuff and that kind of thing. This isn't the absolute number, this is just obviously percentages. Total number of talk submissions, again, have been trending upwards for the last 4 years. I'm not sure why we went down from 2007, 2008, but we're better now. Only down by, 1. So how to hack the selection process.
Oh yeah, follow directions. You'd be amazed how few people can actually manage to submit either a text file or a PDF.
Yeah, it's the whole.
This year was good though.
This year was better. The entire conference is really an exercise in following directions, from the CFP to interacting with the vendors to telling attendees when ticket sales are going to be. We try to be pretty verbose. And you'd be amazed how many emails we get to info and CFP that are basically asking us something that's on the website or we've already told you 5 times. And we cut and paste the answer and try to be polite about it. And eventually we reach the point where you're just not polite. Really, I've told you this before. And it's shocking that it's just a reading comprehension problem that we have. So it's a lot easier on us if everyone takes the few seconds to look at the website before you ask us a question that's answered on the website.
When is the conference?
Yeah, when is the conference? That's a good one. So, but in fairness, there's some issues. Sometimes we have some website design layout things where it's not easy to find the data. And if you find out that there's those kind of issues, let us know, because that's actually something we can work on solving. We can't make you read better, but we can fix our website. So. Anyway, anything else on that?
No, I mean, you know, submissions are intended to be essentially a commercial for your talk. That you know, I hate when I do talks having to do the talk and then put all the work into it and shop it. It's much better to know that I have a commitment to give a talk and therefore it's got to be really, really good, and it ends up being better. So, you know, the whole thing is explain to us why it's cool and why a third of Shmoocon will like it. And the better that somebody explains that, the easier it is to get in.
So we had some problems this year. We solved it with PC desktops in a rack, which is always a good sign. Those are the TF2 boxes for those that don't know. But yeah, we did scale the cart and built ourselves a cluster. So real quick, I want to talk about that. We rewrote the entire cart. The original software that we used to run registration was really never designed initially to handle the kinds of loads that we saw. You know, it was just a kind of a Perl-based CGI thing, and it was, you know, put together to register people. And I remember, like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we were rewriting part of it, and we're like, hey, there's a race condition that if more than one person per second tries to reserve the last ticket, we'll actually oversell. And they were like, hee, that's funny. And then it happened, and we're like, oh, we sold 20 tickets in that second. Like, that wasn't cool. And so we kind of took that code base and took it about as far as we could on a single chassis, and then decided that this year was the year to finally try to do a total rewrite. So we rewrote the thing into Django, which is a nice framework from a development perspective. It makes it easier to administer. There's lots of little pull downs and interfaces to the database. But it's also heavier than all get out. And so we did a lot of tuning and had to, a number of tuning issues on the first 2 completely aborted attempts that actually never got off the ground. Like, we never hit our Django code. We just broke Apache the first 2 times, which was pretty exciting. Yeah, it was like 2 minutes to go. And we have a manual. So first of all, Intrepidus helped us out. Big hand for Intrepidus for helping rewrite the cart. We have a go, no-go button. We used to do it automatically. Like, cron would just come online at noon, and we would just hope for the, you know, it'd be like, oh, we're live, and we would just hope for the best. And usually about 2 minutes to noon, the machine was all shaky, and then it would spend the next half an hour hemorrhaging out tickets. You know, people would be, oh, look, one fell on the floor. They pick it up and go away. And we didn't want that to happen, so we had a manual go live process, and that was kind of our gating function. Like, if we felt like things were okay, the machines were handling it, we'd hit the big red button and it would start. And the first 2 sales cycles, we couldn't even try to hit the big red button. Like, it had just disappeared. Like, you know, Michael J. Fox's family in Back to the Future just dissolved. We're like, oh, I guess they're gone now. We're all dead. Well, yeah, and we had some issues. So once we scaled the thing horizontally, so the first 2 we still only had 1 machine in the rack, and by the 3rd attempt at the first round, pretty funny, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny today because we're all sitting here. At the time, it was killing me. You know, so by the 3rd time, we had put in this. There's a load balancer in there, a database server, a complete packet capture and auditing box, as well as the Moose boxes are 5 of the web servers, and there was a 1U rack mountable critter that was a web server as well. And what was interesting is 3 of those systems would load balance out www.shmoocon.org, and then Reg would get load balanced out across 5, so there's some overlap. Most of our bottleneck was on the database, so the database server was really the thing that got crushed, but we still used the web servers to kind of distribute the load in the middle tier. And the CMS system that was written for us required authentication to update the page, shocker. But the problem was it was never designed to like live on multiple machines. And so Heidi would have to go in and log in to 3 times, like hit refresh and authenticate, and then try to do something and refresh and authenticate and refresh and authenticate. So finally, all 3 of the middle tier boxes had her authentication credentials. So she got all ready on the second round, like I logged in advance this time. We're like, cool. And she updated the page and she went to hit submit, and her authentication credentials had timed out because it's been 10 minutes since she'd used them, and so then she had to re-log in. And so everyone's like, it's 12:02, you're not online. I'm like, she can only type her password so fast, you know? It's like, sorry. But that manual button actually kind of saved our ass and allows us to really decide what we want to do. You know, do we really want to try to sell tickets today? And to be clear about the scale of this thing, You know, because people on, you know, the great thing about Twitter is you can anonymously just flame people. And someone's like, you guys are fucking incompetent. I'm like, really? Fucking incompetent? Because we can build a website that can handle 100 million page views a day by a bunch of volunteers? That sounds incompetent. I don't know, to me. I worked at companies that couldn't do that, and we paid developers and sysadmins, and we were just winging it. I mean, really, we saw peak loads at 1,200 page views a second. And when you do the math, that's more than 1 million page views a day. And we basically need that box to do that or that cluster to do that for 15 minutes-ish a year.
It's also, you know, the entire con in a second and a half.
Yeah, I mean, so we went through the 20 seconds to sell, across all three of them, sold 1,250 tickets.
That's a little bit misleading, though.
Why it's misleading?
Well, no, I mean, it's not, the tickets were allocated in.
They were reserved, yeah.
They weren't.
We divorced the credit card authorization process from the ticket reservation process like last year. If for no other reason, it's really nerve-wracking when registration goes wrong, but when people's credit card processing goes wrong, it gets psychotic. Because people, to this day, will hit submit, 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 submit. Then we get emails like, can you refund the $5,000 to my card, please? Sure thing, I'm on it. And the big blinky letters that were like, if you're international, don't even try. And I get people from like, you know, Belgium being like, hey, I tried to run my credit card, now my card's locked. Can you do anything about it? Like, I don't, frontal lobotomy work? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so why did we do it? Why did we do this instead of farming it out? That's a question we got a lot. And we actually, you know, after things really kind of, well, we kind of did. I mean, we brought in, you know, some external development help and that kind of thing. But after that second failure, we had kind of a sit down, come to Jesus, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to push this and do it ourselves, or do we want to, you know, call a, you know, Eventbrite or whoever? And we called. I mean, who's the people that all the B-sides people? Is it Eventbrite? So you know, we called them up, and I said, hey, can you guys handle the load? They're like, yeah, whatever, we can do this. And we sat down, like, do we want to do this ourselves or not? Because there's obviously, we spend more money when we farm it out, and we lose some control, but we can sleep at night, you know, it's not our problem, ain't our bitch. And we decided, you know, look, we run a high-tech conference of people that consider themselves to be kind of hot shit in their, you know, kind of respective fields. We should do this ourselves. Like, we should, you know, just man up or girl up or whatever term you want to use and just do it. And we did. That was kind of the cut line. Like, we had a call or an email chain or something. We said, all right, screw it. We're going to buckle down and do it. And the next day, I was at my house pulling all the TF2 boxes out of storage and loading Unix or Linux on them. And David was putting stuff on the boxes, and Shmoo was doing a bunch of work. And everyone's kind of chipped in. And I drove them down to Beltsville and racked them. And we had a cluster within 48 hours. So. Anyway, so the sales process, how was this year's as far as size? We registered, there was 1,446 tickets in the database for checking in here. 1,400 of them checked in, which was by far our lowest no-show rate. So in the past...
That's a direct consequence of how we did ticket sales.
You think it's, oh, so yeah, so we've debated this internally, like why was that so low? And it seems like in the past when the ticket sales process was kind of stumbling along, people had more of an opportunity to hoard tickets because people that would write bots and be really persistent could get 10 or 15 or 20 tickets and give them to their friends. And then when they ran out of friends, because they only had 4, they would find out that, oh, hey, you know, I got these extra tickets, and they just wouldn't show up. So it wasn't nearly as hot a commodity when you had this pile of them lying around. And so we think that's one of the reasons why we had a better, you know, kind of number of people showing up. You know, even last year, though, I mean, we had 1,170 people show up in the 2 foot of snow. So, I mean, we didn't do too bad, but this year was shocking. It was fantastic. About 50 speakers, 60 staff, 10 press. 40 cadets made it down again this year, or miscellaneous. I mean, cadets and other people from West Point, they've been fantastic, coming every year, you know, and they presented the group with a really nice signed painting of West Point and all the cadets. It was actually last year. All the cadets from last year had signed it, but then their bus couldn't make it down, so they kept it around for a whole year and brought it down and gave it to us this year. So we're like, cool. And then they gave us a little onesie, which was nice. So anyway, about 1,600 people in attendance, which is about the same as 2009. So we've held very steady for the last 3 years as far as size goes. eBay. So there was some discussion online about eBay and how tickets were going across on eBay. And personally, I try not to get too engaged in those conversations as much as I want to start replying to everyone and, start, really getting my fingers dirty because it'll take up a lot of time to address those kind of things. I figure just wait till the con and do it now. And I think, I know a few people in the group got into some discussions and talked to folks, and we got good feedback. But the reality is, tickets, they're fully transferable. We don't care we care who buys it just because you pay by credit card. And, if you want to use a, whatever, one-time card or whatever, that's totally fine. We don't care. Beyond that, you can give it to anybody. If you want to strap it to your gerbil and bring your gerbil in, we don't care. Because it's easier for you that if you can't make it to give it to a friend and not have to call us or tell us that you're going to do anything with it. And it's easier for us because all we do is go, beep, here's your bag, and you walk in. There's no getting your ID and putting your name inside a little sleeve and wearing it around, whatever. No, it's just, here, come to the con. I don't care who you are, just show up. So every year, tickets have gone across eBay, and this year we saw about 2% of our tickets move across eBay, which is exactly in line with years past. I hate to say it to the people who were really all bent out of shape about it, but we've had years we've had almost 3% of our tickets go across eBay. So this was no different than years past. I think there was more sensitivity because of this, the demand I think has increased. But the private party sales that happen on these public forums are no different today than they were 3 years ago. Cool. Why do we say the same size? One, it preserves the feel of the con. The one thing we get year after year after year is that people like the size of the con like it is. And of course, we get the feedback from the people that make it into the con. So you might be a little biased if you're in this room and providing that feedback. That's all I need to say. But I mean, overall, do people think it's too big, too small, the right size? How warm is the bowl of porridge? Right, nod, right size. Eh? Just right, thank you. Is porridge the same as oatmeal? Basically. Yeah, and then it'll spit it back up. So that. Yeah, so the question's about streaming, and we'll touch on that in a bit, but absolutely, we tried it last year as an experiment. We got very positive feedback on it. We took it very seriously this year, started planning it, way in advance, trying to get it to make sure that the wheels were on that bus. And we've had very good feedback again this year about that, seeing a lot of people talking about it. So we understand that not everyone can come here, but we want to get the information out. We realize you can't participate in Hallway Con when you're watching by the stream, but at least, it's something. So. Anyway, so it's also difficult to find a space that's just a bit bigger in DC. We could go to the convention center and get a lot bigger. We could be in the really big ballroom at the Marriott and be a lot bigger and pay a lot more money. But to go from like 1,500 to 2,000 is actually hard. To go from 1,500 to 5,000 is easy. So this is just a good size for DC. And frankly, our house is the staging area. And everything shows up, and I've sent pictures out a number of years about things that show up in my house, and my garage is full, and my basement is full, and by the end of it, the living room, and boxes in the kitchen, boxes in the dining room. I kid you not, Tuesday night is kind of our t-shirt rolling party, and Wednesday is the bag stuffing party, and people show up at my house on Wednesday, we get 20 people in the house, we get all the boxes ready and stage, and the bathrooms are full. I was storing boxes in bathrooms this year, okay? Just to be clear, the house is overrun with Shmoocon, and that's, for Heidi and I, that's our lives for at least a month, month and a half before the con, is dealing with delivery after delivery after delivery. And it's hard.
We know our delivery people so well that we get invited to their baby showers.
Yeah, the UPS guy invites us to his baby shower. Like, not a joke, like we know him that well.
We gave him our crib.
And so my company actually has an office now in downtown Ellicott City that Shmoocon has an office in.
UPS guy.
And the same UPS guy delivers to there. We don't have a loading dock, unfortunately. For anyone that's been to downtown Ellicott City, they know it's basically like it's a weaponized canyon. Like if you wanted to have a good old-fashioned gun battle there from the Midwest, like people would just die as they funnel down into the canyon. And so we have to walk boxes from a parking lot into the building, and it's this thin 3-story thing. So we were able to at least stage TF2 there, or the Hack Fortress stuff there, and a few other odds and ends. The t-shirt rolling was staged there as well, but we still paid the price of humping boxes back and forth. So they weren't in my house, but it still wasn't easy. So anyway, the moral of the story is, if it was 2,000 people, literally, I don't think we would be able to fit everything into our house, and it would be in our backyard under tarps and stuff, and we'd be buying those little United steel buildings that you see the ads for, just for, yeah, they're pretty too. I think our home,
Our neighbors would like that.
yeah, anyway, so there's no more Shmoo Ball. It would give me space, you see, now, so Jack makes the point that if we made the con bigger, it'd have more space for cars. I like to call my car collection a stable. She doesn't like to call it that. We also disagree as far as the number of cars that we have, and I claim because one's on blocks and has hole in the bottom of it, like Fred Flintstone style, that doesn't count as a vehicle that we own. It's more of a decoration. She doesn't see it the same way, so there's some conflict regarding that. So, yeah.
But it would hold about 3 boxes.
Yeah. 2 years ago, there were boxes in the Volvo. Like the Volvo that's up on jack stands, I threw stuff in there. I'm like, yep, we're storing things in the busted up, rusted out Volvo. Party on. No more Shmoo Ball. How did people like the signs? Too small. So you said me. I said, how do you like the sign? You said me. That's like, English is a second language. So, yes. Okay, even better. They were definitely kind of small, and I think that people have said get bigger markers, get bigger signs. So I hear you, but the concept. I mean, people like the concept of being able to interact with the speakers.
The first year of Shmoo Balls, they were literally ping pong balls. So they took second year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it took a while for the Shmoo Balls to evolve too.
Nobody gets hit? Well, oh, that's a dirty lie. I've seen people get beamed. You think it's more distracting to speakers than you talking to me and some guy yelling in the back? Yeah, well, and that's I think one of the things that they were easier to read. It might be the speakers might have an easier time kind of consuming. And these rooms are long, too. Like that's the other thing that kind of got me. Like I didn't really realize, like in the back, man. Like you can't tell. Like
Yeah, well, when we made this decision, we didn't know yet how this was going to be oriented.
yeah, so we didn't necessarily. Good job there, Shay. Woo! That's all skill. Oh yeah, point at the baby. It was the baby's fault to turn out a light. It's still not right, but that's okay, dude. Like, what was that? Oh, hi. See, I can read. I got my contacts in. Damn it. Yeah, we didn't when we bought the things. We didn't know what the setup was going to be and didn't realize how long the room would be. But the goal again is to get people interacting. How many people actually wrote something for a speaker to see on it?
That's not
A reasonable
good.
number. Just now, yes, absolutely. Well, good. And if you have other ideas on how to engage the audience with the speaker, let us know. I mean, we're certainly open to ideas. We're just trying to, kind of evolve.
Liability.
Yeah, laser pointers, yes. Reducing liability is the idea. Rail guns! That'll get their attention! Jesus. All right. Whiteboard launch. That thing would just decapitate. Like, you get that going like a tornado speed and poof, that'd be it. My kid would be like, oh, it's like a video game. Anyway, so money. So what did we take in? Money in, baby. About $90,000 in sponsorship, a little less than $200,000 in ticket sales, for a total of a little south of $300,000. What did we spend money on? Hotel space is again very consistent for it.
All back of the napkin math, by the way. So.
Yeah, Heidi and I will sit down and kind of go through things about 2 minutes before this talk and put this together. So there's about a 15% variance at least on these numbers. The in money in bit is usually pretty solid. The out money out part
It's usually low.
is usually low.
Because it's still going out.
Yeah, it's still going out. We still get bills, as it turns out. Hotel space every year. I mean, even here, it's about the same as it was at the Marriott, $40,000, and that covers the space here, some food that shows up for the staff, so they don't have to worry about starving to death and that kind of thing, and then screens. We own projectors, which is fantastic.
It's like $10,000 savings.
Yeah, it's like $10,000 savings on projectors every year because we own them. And it turns out projectors aren't that expensive. Like, people that rent I mean, really, there's no reason to rent the damn things, just buy them. Swag is about $40K this year. We spent a fair bit on swag. People like the bags? There's some pretty good, it was a pretty good collection of stuff this year, I thought, that people got. So, Prizes about 1,000, equipment, party, speaker. I mean, you can read. I'm not going to bore you with it. So there's money left over again. You know, we still think, you know, try to figure out, do we want to do more, different? You know, people suggest stuff. We're open to suggestions and how to, you know, yeah, Heidi gets paid. You know, there's all kinds of good ideas. But honestly, you know, one thing is we get done with this and like come Tuesday, most of us don't want to think about Shmoocon for a while. You know, it's a pretty trying kind of event. But come the middle of the year, you know, we're a little bit more up on things and whatever. And if people have ideas and ways to help the community, I mean, the whole purpose of this is really to try to get, you know, further this entire community. I mean, that's why. Restore the Volvo. It turns out that'll cost a lot. More than I had anticipated for a $1,500 hole in the ground. A lot more. But yeah, anyway, if people have ideas, just email it to us, talk to us, whatever. We're certainly game. You have to stop waving it around, sir. Why one ticket price? Oh, did I not cover that somewhere?
You do. You could.
Oh, I didn't talk about it. Sweet.
Too small.
Could you write smaller? Summer Shmoocon. Yeah, there's been thoughts on that. And you know, Shmoo Camp and things of that idea, so that may happen. So why the one ticket price? So first of all, from a straight up computer science perspective, the queuing process of 3 tickets prices at the same, basically all selling out instantaneously, was a giant pain in the ass. And what?
It's just a joke.
Yeah, I mean, the initial idea was pay what you think it's worth, and it just turned into pay whatever the hell you can get your hands on. You know, when they all sold out basically at the same time, you were just whatever. Like, I'll pay 100 or 175 or 300, whatever the thing tells me, and I'll hit submit. I hope to God I get it.
It made it easier for some people who really wanted to come in to go immediately for the $300 tickets.
No.
But on the other hand, those
That
also
works.
started selling out immediately too, and then it's, you know, it turns into 3 lotteries as opposed to 1, and it's a lot easier to manage one thing than it is 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why we went with the 1. Network, the labs, we did labs again this year. How'd it go? What? Ken is not here again. No Ken.
And this is the same slide for
From last year.
7.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely consistent. But how many people use the network? It's a pretty good number. How many unique hosts? 500 and change different hosts using the network, so that's about a third of the con actually took the chance and fired up Wi-Fi and see what happens. Which is, what? They found out what happens firsthand. Ouch. But I mean, again, labs seem to have been a successful experiment. I mean, every year people come and learn and are up late nights on Thursday night and seem to still enjoy it. So really, really late. On-site registration went very smoothly again this year, even with a completely new system. We actually ended up using the code to do on-site registration from last year, which was cool, that we still had that kind of interchangeability with how everything was structured. We didn't change the fact that you needed a barcode to get in, so we were able to doctor up last year's stuff and use it, and it worked very well. I don't have specific numbers on rate, but
It was fast.
I mean, usually we do about, how many? Like, it's like every 6 seconds we register someone. Yeah, and in the last 2 years it's been about that. I think this year was about the same, you know. They're pretty damn fast. This is why we don't ask you who you are, you know.
Slow down when people don't bring them out printed.
Yeah, so people don't bring printed barcodes sometimes, like they hold up their phone. We don't have that technology, I'm sorry. Like, we have a lot of technology here, but we don't have that yet. But that may be something we may shoot for in the future, so we can do that kind of thing. And yeah, again, just for posterity's sake, we do, like I said, we roll the t-shirts in advance so that it's very easy to sell them. We're not rooting through boxes. If you all walked in there and saw these big things of t-shirts. Yeah, speaking of which, they're larges.
They're golden rod.
T-shirt! There goes your liability.
Yeah, that's right. Are you okay, sir? Oh my God! What size is this?
That's a triple.
Triple? Are you a double or a triple, sir? You have a double?
No.
Here, you can.
That's it.
All right. Well, we'll do some more in a minute. All right, video streaming. It went pretty well from what I understood from listening to people online. Just for the setup, it's pretty simple. I mean, I know like B-Sides is doing a lot of streaming and other conferences are starting to do streaming. It's not that complicated. You know, what's nice is that Ted lets us hook directly into his feed, and so we just split the video out. And then we have someone kind of sitting back there babysitting it, make sure it's going okay. It's just 3 Windows laptop running Flash Media Encoder. We started the weekend running the Ustream encoder, and then got tweets like, all I see is everything from his shoulders to his balls, which was nice. It was Agent X at his finest, for those that know X. Hi, X, if you're listening. He's up in the sticks. But we converted and we went over to FME. Oh, Ken exists. There exists a Ken. Yay! Yeah, that's a round of applause right there. So, and then we have these Diamond A to D converters, which are sketchy at best, but you can bludgeon them to work eventually. And they're pretty cheap. I mean, they're like $60 or something. And that's what we stream with. And then the labs guys, we do dedicated wire connection to the streaming laptops. We did wireless backhaul for one of the rooms last year at the Marriott, and that did not work so well. From what I understand, it was just a blur. So, but with the labs, we were on board with them much earlier this year, and everything seemed to have been very smoothly. So we had up to several hundred people in the track watching it at a time, and some people even organized events around gathering and watching the stream and having a party, kind of off-site Shmoocon, shindig, which I think is a fantastic way to offset the fact that not everyone can attend. So, and drinking, yeah. So then the Shmoocon drinking game. I thought you were wanting a shirt. I didn't realize you had a question.
Not only Hackerspaces watch the stream, but I assigned my students at Purdue to watch TikTok and watch it and write a report. So
Oh, fantastic.
also as
Yeah, you made them watch it. So, as punishment, students at Purdue had to watch Shmoocon. Eyes propped open with toothpicks.
So let this be a lesson to you.
He wasn't here, so he gave it the report.
Yeah, did you tell them which ones you would be at, and they're gonna have to watch the other ones, or
I told you they could not use mine.
they couldn't use yours? Any other comments or things about the streaming? Did anyone watch streaming last year and is here this year? I mean, obviously there's a difference, but I mean, was the streaming? Last year, enjoyable or whatever? Did you get sat around, watched it, and swore in the IRC channel a lot? So. Sweet. Please don't watch it from here. Don't chew up the bandwidth. Actually, that's one thing I missed about the DEF CON, when they would stream DEF CON over the TVs in the hotel. For those that were at DEF CON when that kind of thing was possible, you could just like flip the TV and like watch DEF CON, which was the best way to watch talks because you didn't have to stand in line and you could just sit around with your friends and drink and hang out and periodically like laugh at people and then move on. So, security. So again, we provided our own security staff. Bad hands. Bad hands.
I think those are ladies.
Anyway, we've had a lot of success in again, not having different colored shirts for security and non-security. We just have one shirt people can feel comfortable walking up to, and most people, we have a meeting ahead of time and say, here's all the area leads, staff, and when you get questions that involve something that's not your area, here's who to go point them at, and we have pretty good response from that. So, and again, our security people interact with hotel security people pretty efficiently. We work with their loss prevention and everything in advance, so we kind of know what's going on and how to keep things under control. But people are pretty well behaved this year, from what I can tell.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yes,
for that.
thank you. I appreciate it. the whole group, all the volunteers appreciate it. So, and we still rent little radios, which became increasingly important this year because the cell reception sucks. Anyone have good cell reception here?
Half on, half off.
On what carrier? AT&T had good coverage.
Give him a t-shirt. Give my screwball.
Yes, I say.
If they're the wrong size, they can get lucky.
It may be a situation that we might try to get some sort of picocell thing set up and try to offset this in future years, because this was ridiculous. T-Mobile wasn't bad? This is the only place, this is the one cell site in all of America for T-Mobile.
Supposedly, if you turned off 3G and had your phone do 2G only, it was a lot better.
Okay.
I'm sure some attendees will volunteer to provide 3D coverage.
This is double X?
Submit that as a talk. You know, next year I want the talk of I will provide 3G coverage for the con. That's a good
yeah.
one.
Other talks that we will accept is I will provide pizza for the con.
Drinks are on me.
Yeah, drinks. Yeah, restoring Volvos.
The bar tab was about $30K.
About $30,000. So yeah, we throw a $30,000 party for you people. It's strange. Like, I watch her write the check and hand it to this guy. I'm like, that's a lot of booze. Like, with all due respect.
Then it was, I mean, who was there last night, first of all? Did y'all feel the floor moving on the dance floor? Oh my God, I left. It was scary. What? It was next door.
It's literally attached. Like, you can walk through a door and it's there. I mean, there's like a hole in the wall. It's a door, and you go through it. Anyway, it seems like a pretty decent venue. I've actually not attended, but from what I hear, yeah, it seems good. If I'm beating you with the Ron size T-shirts, you can go exchange them at the front. Just FYI. Other gear and stuff. We did some tech refresh on the servers. You realize after a time that a single core Opteron running at 1.8 gigahertz isn't as cool as you used to think it was. And the Celeron server that I keep giving the labs guys and they keep never using. Yeah, it's this little blue 1U Celeron 2 gigahertz thing from like, I don't know, 8 years ago. And they're like, why do you keep giving us this? I'm like, because it's funny, like someday. And the other funny thing I do, because these things usually sit like either in our house or in our office, is over the year when I'm using them for other purposes, I'll scavenge memory, and then invariably like the day that labs start, somebody's like, who's the asshole that took the memory out of this box? I've been troubleshooting it for 2 hours, I just realized there was no memory. The good one was when I took the processors out. And they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't boot. And then, yeah, anyway, I'm a bad sysadmin. So anyway, we bought, every year we buy Dell for what it's worth, and we've now got these pretty monstrous 1U, 2-socket, quad-core per socket, 8 gig of memory Xeon critters for like $1,500. It's ridiculous how cheap these machines are, and they're monsters, man. We actually, on one of them ahead of time, we loaded up some ridiculous number of XPVMs to go do some load testing. And yeah, it handled it great. So yeah, servers are cheap. We also bought 2 new projectors. These white ones here, the one complaint we get is that we kind of keep the lights down because we have to have the projector be able to be seen. So we got 4K lumen projectors. They're like $3,000 a pop, but isn't bad considering it does high def at 4K lumen. I mean, it'll do 1080p straight up for $3,000. Oh, it's awesome. I opened them up and just turned it on and looked at it. It was like, will this blind me? I'm like, oh yeah, that's 4,000. That's better than 3. I was blinded a few microseconds quicker.
I'll be happy to store that in my theater for you.
Yeah, exactly. We get a lot of volunteers for storing it mounted to my ceiling. It's safe up there. Don't worry. I tried again for you, man. Twice you missed the shirt. It's unacceptable. They're not getting a 3rd chance.
Those are women's.
Oh, that's a women's.
Vicky's right there.
Yay, all right. I've only got 2 left. Oh. That's what's tighter. I'm out. All right. Contest. All previous contests came back. How many people participated in any contest? Not bad. So, what?
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 I was laughing because of the badge contest, the hidden contest of every year.
Oh, what were you laughing about? The number of people that thought
The number of people that came to us saying, I've solved it, who do I tell?
So the badge contest had this kind of neat little thing that as you solved it, you would figure out what you had to do and how to submit you won. And so people would come up to us and be like, I solved it. Like, who do I tell? You're like, no, you didn't solve it. If you had to ask me the question of who you told, you didn't solve it. And one guy, like 3 times, apparently was told, you know, if you have to ask, you hadn't solved it, and thought it was a joke. Thought it was like some inside thing, you know, like that drinking game that you don't know the rules to until you're on the floor for like the 5th time going, well, I'm really drunk again. I still don't know the rules, but it's a lot of fun. Anyone done those drinking games? Okay. I won't admit it. I can't remember the rules. Anyway, we combined Hack Fortress or Hacker Halo and TF2, and that was the only kind of exception to the thing. But other than that, I think all the contests were back. So Vendors and sponsors, we're just about done. There was 41 sponsors, including the labs. One thing we did this year is for the low-level sponsorship, the bronze level sponsorship, we reserved that only for screw Twitter. Yeah. So there's a couple purposes to this talk, and to be honest, there's an awful lot of material to cover. So one of the purposes of this talk is actually to get into kind of the public record, if you will, the internet, the tubes, all the information that we can on the video and through the presentation, so that other people running conferences, which seems to happen a lot these days, can kind of look at what we've done, the mistakes that we made, how we run it, the scale of things, and depending on the event that they're trying to run, look at it and help make some decisions. So there's a lot of info here, and some of it we're just going to plow through. So that it's there and captured. If you have comments and there's time, feel free to yell them and write them, and we'll deal with it. But I reserve the right to cut things short just so we can make sure everything gets captured, says the guy who's rambling on and on and on. Also, and I used to just do this because I was lazy, like put the little how to reuse it year after year after year, but it's actually pretty impressive. We've been going at this now for 7 years, and every year we've had the con, we've stood up on stage and said, here's the good stuff, here's the bad stuff, tell us what you like, tell us what you didn't like, and we're here to do it again. So, starting, what? Boom. Starting from the top, some of this stuff, if you've been to Own the Cons before, you will recognize some of these slides, because I didn't change them. We are still an LLC, usually spelled correctly, except on our Amex cards. I even have an Amex card that doesn't have my last name on it. It says Bruce, it works. Your prompt was changed. I think that's your friends fucking with your unlocked thing. Here, come on up. You need a Hacking the Art of Exploitation book, so you can understand what a real hack looks like, from No Starch Press, so thanks to No Starch. Please don't flash me. Kilt. Sunday's Kilt Day, wasn't it? Saturday was Kilt Day. I guess he's still working from last night, so. Come on up. All right, that was, you put your hand up, sir. So this is a really nice, actually, little folio thing from Palo Alto Network. So thank you to Palo Alto. So thanks to all the sponsors that have given us lots of swag to give away. Hopefully you don't go away empty-handed. We have a lot of Shmoocon t-shirts that we'll be giving out over the next hour-ish or so. Oh, I still haven't actually gotten on. Let's see if this works. Hey, that's a better sign. Woo! Turn off mirroring.
I must have put us against someone really good at this. Is all we have in the crowd.
Okay, so that one fits and that one doesn't. All right. I guess, is it noon? It's noon. So we're going to kick this sucker off. So here's the deal. This is... there's crap everywhere up here. This is Own the Con. This is a talk that we give every year that's basically internals of the conference, how we run it, how the group puts the whole thing together and all the volunteers work and that kind of thing. And in general, oh, everyone's tweeting that they're in the Own the Con session. No, I haven't had a web form barf on it yet either, which is really weird. LLCs have very little overhead. You basically just tell the state you're an LLC, you file some paperwork, you update some things on a yearly basis, and you're done. You don't have all the overhead of 501c3. So everyone always asks, why aren't you officially a nonprofit? Well, because we have a lot of other things to do. And steering a nonprofit, I mean, people have seen it done in a streamlined fashion and whatever, but it's a pain in the butt compared to what we want. We'd rather focus on the con and deal with paying taxes and everything. We'd rather pay the tax than, not. So anyway, is that me or you?
What?
The beeping. Well, I know it's, thank you. It is 2011. I have had my balls cooked by that thing for years, so. It's the same organizational structure.
We did just have a baby.
We did just have a baby, so I guess they work. Everything is planned in email for the most part. There are some calls. We do not have like weekly con calls or IRC chats or anything like that. We had to use IRC for Hack Fortress, and I didn't even have an IRC client installed, which was like embarrassing. But honestly, we as a group, the Shmoo group's been together for a long time, and we kind of already knew each other's habits and things like that, so it was easy to do things in email, and by extension, the other volunteers that have gotten involved are kind of fall into that same thing, and we've got lists for labs and Hack Fortress and whatever, and for the most part, that tends to work pretty effectively for day-to-day planning. So, conference dates and venues. So obviously, this is not the Marriott. I know of at least one person that went to the Marriott. Oh, and yeah, one person came here, thought it was the Marriott, and was shocked at the renovation that they had done. Including spelling it differently, I might add. So why did we do it? We wanted to try something new. You know, we kind of run our course of the Marriott, and they were good to us. I mean, there was no issues or anything. One thing about the Hilton is it is a smaller hotel. How many rooms?
1,020 or something.
Like 1,000-ish rooms. And so the Marriott was like 1,600 rooms or something like that. So you know, when you engage a hotel in an event like this, the real thing that they care about is the room commitment. How many people are going to stay in the hotel every night? And we have to sign a piece of paper that says we're going to make a room commitment. And if we don't make it, we're on the hook for the difference between what we said we would get and what you all reserved. And that comes in a cash payment to the hotel, and we just give them money. So we tend to be kind of conservative with that number. But in reality, this year, what was our biggest pickup night?
Well, we had a room commitment of, I don't have a voice, so.
Get even closer then. There you go.
All right. They still can't hear me, so it doesn't matter. We had a room commitment of 650 room nights, and we actually cleared about, almost 1,200.
So we had a room commitment of 600 and change. We had an actual uptick of like on, and I won't bore you with that. Here, you need to do it again. Woo! That wasn't very guttural, sir. Can you give me like a redneck, yeah, kind of one of those? Woo! Oh, for God's sake! All right, Amazon has given you some dominoes and a pen, so thanks to Amazon for that. There you go. All right. Wow.
Service for the smile.
Holy. Yeah, that's, yeah, exactly. He was just waiting for that moment. Ooh, someone needs me. My kids do the same thing. Oh, sorry. Let's see. You'll take what? T-shirt. So this is a Shmoocon T-shirt. What size is this?
It's goldenrod.
It's goldenrod. This is the goldenrod size. You can have that. You can't catch it, though. What's on your sign, sir? I'm blind. Free stuff, free stuff. Come up for your free stuff. So this is a Security University T-shirt, and you can, what? Throw him a brick, yes. You can still probably buy some Security University T-shirts at the booth for a $5 donation to Wounded Warriors, right?
I don't know. I was.
That was, yes. So that seems right. There you go. Let's see. Did anyone get owned at the con? Who said yes? What happened?